Very affordable rates, you are guaranteed the best value for your money. 5. We go beyond radio and can be found on all other social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Periscope, proving that while other stations enjoy listenership, we enjoy followership. So if you're still asking yourself for a reason why to advertise with Human Rights Radio, I believe the right question is, why haven't you already? Welcome to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting. At Human Rights Radio, we believe that good health is not just a state of being, it is a way of life. That is why we present Health is Life, a program focused on providing you, our listeners, all the answers and solutions about your wellness and health. We believe that together, our impact is greater in ensuring public health and safety. That is why we provide you the tools you need to make instant, positive, and healthier changes in your life. For a sound mind is a sound body. Health is life on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back. This is still Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and the program is Health is Life. And on this first segment of the program, we'll be focusing on common cold. Yes, common cold is a condition that is very, very common amongst us. So what is common cold anyway? And how do we reduce the risk of having infection? Those are the things we'll be focusing on. Like I always said, we are more concerned about preventive health. We want to ensure that we prevent ourselves from coming down with sicknesses and ailments as much as possible. So we would like to dwell on the preventive measures. How do we prevent ourselves or reduce the risk of having cold that is very, very common amongst us, especially children? So what is cold? You know, the running nose, scratchy throat, and non-stop sneezing. You cannot miss the signs. How can you stay healthy without this cold? That's what we want to focus on. Common cold is an illness that is caused by a virus, a tiny virus. You can catch it from another person who is infected with the virus. And this can happen by direct physical contact with someone who has a cold, or by touching a surface that's contaminated with the germs, like computer, keyboard, doorknobs, or even spoon, and then touching your nose or mouth. You can also catch it from infected droplets in the air that is released by a sneeze or a cough. Your nose and throat usually get inflamed and make a lot of mucus. So with so much of your energy directed at fighting the cold virus, you're always feeling tired and miserable. But there are things that make you prone to come down with the cold. For example, what are those things? We like to look at what are the causes of some of these infections, and then how do we prevent ourselves or reduce the risk of having these infections. That's our major focus here. So what are the things that prompts you to having cold? For example, you're more likely to catch one if you're extremely tired, under emotional stress, or having challenges or allergies with nose and throat symptoms, right? So when a cold strikes, you may have some symptoms. What are those symptoms? Scratchy or sore throat. Your throat is always sore or scratchy. Sneezing, you sneeze very often. Stuffy nose, watery eyes, mucus draining from your nose into your throat. It's very, very painful a lot of times when you have cold. And with children have about 5 to 7 colds per day, according to some research. So a big part of the reason, that can keep them out of school or make them feel sick and weak, usually. So also kids aren't as careful about sneezing. So a lot of times you see children coming down with this because, they're children and there's so many things that they cannot be mindful of. So you see, when they're sneezing, they don't really care. They don't care so much about washing their hands, not to mention about where to keep themselves healthy. So, and to top it off, the young immune systems aren't yet strong enough to fight the cold virus. So, like I said, I'm more interested in how do we prevent cold? How do we ensure that we reduce the risk of having this virus that is so discomforting? Sneezing, scratchy throat, sore throat, running of the nostrils is always not very comfortable. So as there are so many cold-causing viruses, it has been difficult for scientists especially to develop a vaccine. So however, there are some precautions that can be taken to help avoid catching the common cold. That's what we want to talk about. What are those precautions? What are those things that you can do or be mindful of to ensure that you don't catch common cold? One, you need to avoid close contact with someone that's affected with a cold. No matter how much you love the person, you try as much as possible to stay away, not too close, not to have too much contact or too close a contact with someone who has cold, because it's highly contagious, right? So if you have someone around you that is already down with a cold, the person sneezes and the person coughs, and the person can have some of the virus in his or her palm. So you need to at least give some small space, okay? So avoid close contact with someone that is infected with a cold, and eat lots of vitamin-rich fruit and vegetables regularly so that your immune system remains strong. On this program, we always talk about diet. We always talk about the kind of foods that you need to eat to ensure that you have a strong immune system to defend your body from these bacteria and these infections or germs. When you eat well, especially foods that are rich in fruit and vegetables, your immune system is strong. And when the immune system is strong, your body comes in contact with some of these germs or bacteria, your body can overpower. Your body fights it naturally and overpower it, and you may not be falling sick very often. So there's a need for you to eat lots of vitamin-rich fruits and vegetables so that your immune system will always remain strong, right? And when sneezing or coughing, make sure it is done into a tissue. Discard that tissue carefully and wash your hands, right? Sneezing or coughing, make sure it is done into a tissue or into something, but ensure that you discard the tissue carefully and wash your hands. And you also need to be mindful of how you use the tissue so that you don't cause blisters. It doesn't cause blisters on your nostrils. So always make sure that you discard whatever you use to sneeze inside. And if you sneeze into your hands, make sure that you wash them with soap and water immediately. That is very key. If for some reasons you sneeze into your hands or your palms, make sure that you wash the hands very carefully and very well with soap and water immediately. And if you have no tissue or handkerchief, cough into the inside crook of your elbow rather than your hands. It's better you don't sneeze into your hands. Don't sneeze into your hands because you can mistakenly take it in and all that. The infection will continue. Then wash your hands regularly. Cold viruses can be transmitted from one person to another by touch. So if you have the virus in your hands or in your palms, you can pass it to another person. So you need to be mindful. And then keep surfaces in your home clean, especially in the kitchen or bathroom. Cleanliness is key. When you're clean, your environment is clean, you maintain personal hygiene, you are not likely to fall sick very often, because most of the causative agents, the bacteria or whatever is causing any kind of infection, thrive so well in that. So ensure that your home is clean, especially the kitchen and the bathroom. And then avoid touching your face, especially your nose and mouth. Okay? Try as much as possible to avoid that. But we'll be taking a short break very soon. But we're looking at common cold. What are the causes? Why are you prone to having it? We want to make sure that you do not have it. So keep surfaces in your home clean. It's very key. Wash your hands regularly. It's very necessary. And if you're sneezing, ensure that you use tissue or handkerchief, and then you discard it or you wash your hands very quickly with soap and water. Right? Okay, so we'll take a short break now, but we'll be back. Don't go away. We're still discussing and looking at those things, common cold. What are those things that you can do that you can reduce the risk of having the infection? We're more interested in preventing you from having the infection to start with.
At Human Rights Radio, we pride ourselves in being sensitive to all your business needs. That is why we go further to bring you, our clients, closer to us. Human Rights Radio is proud to announce that our advert cards are ready for both wholesale and retail marketers. As an added bonus, we are offering a 20% discount to all wholesale buyers of our advert cards. Hurry now to Human Rights Radio, located at plot 1184, Kaura District, besides Games Village, FCT Abuja, and take advantage of this unique business opportunity. Human Rights Radio, redefining broadcasting.
My name is Anointed Sonny. I'm from Cross River State. I sell books opposite NNPC Towers. I listen to Human Rights Radio 101.1. The radio makes sense where you everybody make una listen to them. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is still Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and the program is Health is Live, and we're talking about common cold this segment of the program. What is common cold? How do we prevent ourselves? How do we lower the risk of having common cold? That's a major emphasis. We need to prevent ourselves. What are those things that we need to do to ensure that we reduce the risk of having the infection? And like I said, it's very necessary and key that we avoid contact with anyone who is infected with a cold. Contact with someone who is infected can bring you down, can make you get the infection because it's highly contagious. And we also like to tell you that you should eat lots of vitamin-rich fruit and vegetables. It's very key. We emphasize on this program the need to eat vitamin-rich fruits and vegetables because they will help to build your immune system. When you have a strong immune system, you are not likely to fall sick very easily because your body will naturally fight the diseases. And then when you sneeze or cough, make sure it is done into a tissue or a clean handkerchief and then discard it immediately. And after you do that, ensure that you wash your hands. If you sneeze into your hands, make sure you wash them with soap and water immediately. And if you have no tissues or handkerchief, cough into the inside crook of your elbow rather than your hands. Avoid as much as possible to sneeze or cough into your hands. Then wash your hands regularly because cold viruses can be transmitted from one person to another. Then keep surfaces in your home clean. Cleanliness is very key to prevention or as a preventive measures to any kind of infection. Most infection, when you maintain personal hygiene and you ensure that your environment is clean, you are not likely to fall sick very often. So ensure that your home is clean all the time, and then avoid touching your nose and your mouth so that you don't continue to transfer the infection. Let's look at management of cold or maybe treatment, because if you have a cold, make sure that you have a ready supply of tissues or handkerchiefs, and adopt good hygiene practices to avoid spreading. That's how it's good to manage it. Ensure that you adopt good hygiene practices to avoid spreading the virus. And it's important to realize that both antibiotics and antiviral medications are inefficient against most viruses that cause common cold. So although there's no real way of treating or curing the common cold, the following measures may help ease the symptoms. So when you have common cold, there's some things that you need to do that you have relief. Drink plenty of fluids and keep well hydrated. Being dehydrated when infected with a cold can make you feel way worse. So when you have cold, ensure that you drink plenty of water so that you be rehydrated. Because if you're not, if you're dehydrated, you feel worse when you have cold. Again, get plenty of bed rest. It's important to get as much sleep, rest as possible when infected, as the body's immune system is fighting off the virus. Usually, you need to rest when you are done with common cold, because your body is struggling to overcome the infection. So you try as much as possible to rest. So drink plenty of fluids and make sure that you remain hydrated, because when you're dehydrated, you feel worse. And like I said, get plenty of bed rest. Rest is very important, because the virus and your system, your immune system is fighting each other. So you need to rest so that you feel better and get better. Okay? Some people find that inhaling steam helps ease the symptoms of nasal congestion. It depends on what works for you. Okay? So be mindful. You can also see a doctor, especially when the symptoms are severe and you need medication. We don't encourage you to go for self-medication. Whatever the problem is, if you have cold and you see that the symptoms are severe, or you cannot hold it down by just resting, drinking fluids, and getting yourself rehydrated, if you need to take drugs, you have to go and see your doctor. Make sure you see your doctor. Don't take drugs that are not prescribed by the doctor. We don't encourage that here. Okay, so when we take another break, don't go away, because we'll be back again.
Join our diverse team of legal experts as we provide education and guidance to you, our listeners, on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Pro Bono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Sunana Malam Abdullahi, organizer ne aiki na, kuma ina ji Human Rights Radio 101.1, kuma aikin su wanda suke yi aikin kwarai ne, kuma Allah sa albarka ciki, kuma wanda suke saurara rediyon nan kuma su ci gaba da saurara, domin aikin alheri suke yi, kuma Allah ba su lada da aikin da suke yi.
At Human Rights Radio, we believe that good health is not just a state of being, it is a way of life. That is why we present Health is Life, a program focused on providing you, our listeners, all the answers and solutions about your wellness and health. We believe that together, our impact is greater in ensuring public health and safety. That is why we provide you the tools you need to make instant, positive, and healthier changes in your life. For a sound mind is a sound body. Health is life on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
My name is Femi Adeshino. I'm the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. I'm proud to identify with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. I'm glad that this station has come up at a time like this under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, a man that respects the human rights of every Nigerian. Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
At Human Rights Radio, we believe that good health is not just a state of being, it is a way of life. That is why we present Health is Life, a program focused on providing you, our listeners, all the answers and solutions about your wellness and health. We believe that together, our impact is greater in ensuring public health and safety. That is why we provide you the tools you need to make instant, positive, and healthier changes in your life. For a sound mind is a sound body. Health is life on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Hello, this is the Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and the program is Health is Life. And we're looking at precautions. What are those things that you do or that you can do to ensure that you reduce the risk of having common cold? We like to prevent than to treat. We rather ask you or give you tips on what to do to ensure that you don't come down with these sicknesses. So we're looking at common cold. What are those things? Some few things you need to do to ensure that you reduce the risk of having the infection. One, avoid close contact with someone infected with cold, right? As much as you love the person, as much as you care about the person, try as much as possible to reduce your contact with someone who is already infected with a cold. It will reduce your chances of getting the infection. Again, you eat lots of vitamin-rich fruit and vegetables regularly. We encourage you on this show on the need to eat right. Ensure that you take enough vegetables and vitamin-rich fruits because you need to build your immunity. Because when your immunity is strong, you're not likely to fall sick very easily. Then when sneezing or coughing, make sure it is done into a tissue and which will be discarded as soon as you finish, and then you wash your hands very well. Ensure that you be mindful of the way you use the tissue so that you don't have blisters on your nostrils as well, because some of them can cause some kind of infection. So make sure that you discard whatever you use in sneezing or coughing into, and then you wash your hands very regularly and very well with soap. If you sneeze into your hands, make sure you wash them with soap and warm water immediately so that you don't pass the infection or the virus to another person. And if you have no tissues or handkerchief, ensure that you cough into the inside crook of your elbow rather than your hands. Your hands are precious. They take food into your mouth. So ensure that you avoid coughing or sneezing into your hands. And then wash your hands regularly. Cold viruses can be transmitted from one person to the other. Again, keep surfaces in your home clean, especially in the kitchen or bathroom. Avoid touching your face, especially your nose and your mouth. Right. This is where we will end this segment of Health is Life. But don't go away. We'll be right back because we have another segment that is very, very interesting for you, right? And that is Heal My Heart. This segment is brought to you by the Nigerian Network of Religious Leaders Living with and Affected by HIV, and is supported by Gilead Foundation and Christian Aid, respectively. So we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll begin to look at those issues, especially as it has to do with HIV.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
You know.
Give me 101.1 effort.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel Gundepo. I'm a security man working in Central District. Keep listening to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM.
At Human Rights Radio, we believe that good health is not just a state of being, it is a way of life. That is why we present Health is Life, a program focused on providing you, our listeners, all the answers and solutions about your wellness and health. We believe that together, our impact is greater in ensuring public health and safety. That is why we provide you the tools you need to make instant, positive, and healthier changes in your life. For a sound mind is a sound body. Health is life. On Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
We declare that human rights are for all of us, all the time, wherever we are and wherever we are from. This is a matter of individual justice, social stability, and global progress. The United Nations protects human rights because that is our proud mission. And because when people enjoy their rights, economies flourish and countries are at peace. Violations of human rights are more than personal tragedies. They are alarm bells that may warn of a much bigger crisis. The UN's Human Rights Upfront Initiative aims to heed those alarms. We are rallying in response to violations before they degenerate into mass atrocities or war crimes. Everyone can advance the struggle against injustice, intolerance, and extremism. I call on states to honor their obligations to protect human rights every day of the year. I call on people to hold their governments to account. And I call for special protections for the human rights defenders who courageously serve our collective cause. Let us respond to the cries of the exploited and uphold the right to human dignity for all.
Human Rights Radio.
Welcome back. This is still Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and we're still live on Heal My Heart, a segment of Health is Life. Very interesting segment, and this segment is of the Nigerian network of religious leaders living with and affected by HIV, and is supported by Gilead Foundation and Christian Aid, respectively. On this part of this program, we'll be focusing on issues around HIV, and then you can call me and ask me questions, as it has to do with it. We have a doctor in the house, and we have experts that can answer your questions the way you would learn and the way you would want it. But first, I have in the studio with me Ikenna Wakama. Thank you for coming on this show today.
Thank you.
Okay, and also Amber Itohan is in the house too.
Thank you.
Okay, they are of Ninerela, right? Okay, and also I have a medical practitioner, Dr. Kema Onu. Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Kema is the State Clinical Coordinator, AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Nice to have you guys in the studio.
Thank you.
Okay, Amber, can we, do we have more guests? This is us, right? Okay, Amber, just tell me briefly the overview. What is this project about? We like to talk about it very often each time we come here so that people will know more about your activities. And Kenna.
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Amber Itoaemi. I work for Ninerela. Ninerela is a network of religious leaders living with or personally affected by HIV and AIDS. Our work is we work through religious leaders to faith communities. We're doing a lot of work around faiths and faith communities and uptake of services. And today we're going to be looking at demand creation using faith's platform. And this project is actually supported by our donor, Christian Aid International, through Gilead Foundation Fund. We'll just talk about the overview of this project shortly.
Okay, thank you. The project we are carrying out, like Amber rightly pointed out, supported by Christian Aid and Gilead Foundation, is about improving access to prevention and treatment services through mobilization of faith leaders for stigma reduction. So we know that stigma is a major driver of HIV infection because people, because of stigma, refuse to go for testing. And because of stigma, those who are tested positive refuse to uptake services. So and we know that faith leaders are important in shaping people's behavior and attitude towards life generally, particularly even their health. And we know that faith leaders in all faiths, all religions, Christian, Muslims, enemies, all of them, are important in the life of people also who are having one challenge or the other. Because you see that most people who have problems like HIV have some kind of emotional or mental health problem, and because of the encouragement of our faith leaders, they can garner support and the energy and spirit to go back to treatment. So what we are doing is to mobilize these faith leaders to take on responsibility of playing into the life of their followers in the area of HIV prevention and treatment.
Thank you. Okay, what can we say is the role of faith leaders in promoting uptake of services?
Okay, just to quickly say that, in Nigeria, let's use our country, people give so much respect to our religious leaders. Let's take a look, like a scenario I always give when I'm doing training for religious leader. At the beginning of every year, you see that religious leaders, most churches, let's come to the churches now. Most churches do like what we have 7 days fasting and prayer, 21 days. At the beginning of the year, the religious leader says we are starting our fasting and prayer so day, and people are excited and they want to do it. When their religious leader said this is what we are doing, they want to follow up and do it. And we see that religious leader has so much influence in the lives of their followers. A lot of people are looking at them as their role model. So we want to see how we could use that same platform. They could use their influence to mobilize these people for uptake of services. When we talk about uptake of services, like my colleague rightly said, there are a lot of services that are to be taken by people in the faith congregation. Now, believe me, everybody in the community belongs to one faith congregation or the other. Is either you're in the church, you're in the mosque, you worship traditional worshiper, you all belong to one congregation. And if we can focus on if these religious leaders could use their influence to mobilize them to uptake services, will do us a whole lot of good in the community.
Let me talk with Dr. Kema. Dr. Kema, how do you think we can mobilize faith communities for uptake of services?
Thank you so much. Let me look, there's a cascade.
Okay.
Testing persons for HIV. It's one thing to get somebody tested for HIV. It's another thing to get the person linked to care, to the facility. It's another thing to retain the person in care in the facility. And then the outcome of the treatment. So 4 things. The religious leader plays a major role in each of this cascade in testing. Now, if you see a young girl that goes out to do HIV testing on her own, the first thing you think is that girl is what? Is promiscuous. You understand? And it's because of what the society has seen her to be sinful. Now, if you have a reverend sister, for instance, who is HIV positive, do you think that if a reverend sister goes out to do HIV testing, people in the church will not join her? Similarly, the reverend sister, I'm using the word reverend sister because the person in charge of the church, or the person in charge of the choir, somebody notable leader is going out to do that thing that people, young girls think it is wrong. They think that there's a societal bias over them. But the person who leads, I've gone in a lot of places where we go to communities to do HIV testing. It's only when the chief or the religious leader leads the way that every other person will go. So in testing uptake, they have a major role to play to remove the issue of stigma, remove the issue of the gender issues, remove the societal values that people think that it is only the sinful people that do HIV, or it's only the sinful people that might get HIV. Today we have someone like Magic Johnson, though he's not a religious leader, but he has come out to say he's HIV positive. A lot of people are now coming out. So if we have Desmond Tutu did the same thing in tuberculosis. He had tuberculosis and he has. People never believed that TB was a reality until somebody as important as Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa came out to do that. So in the testing, now in the linkage to care, I can assure you that a religious leader has a major role. It's one thing, I can tell you in Nigeria, if you have tested 1 million persons, it's only about 300,000, for instance, that are actually who are positive who actually go to the hospital, because it is when people get their results as positive, the pastor tells them it is negative because he has prayed for them. It's a major issue. I've been in the care for a long time. People who live in denial. So we still need a religious leader to come out to let them know, because I tell you, everything I've been told in my classroom, I may not hold it as strong as what I was told in church. Or what I'm being told in the mosques. So what the religious leader tells you, when the sermon in church has to go to these issues, you have to involve, for instance, the woman who is pregnant. If you have a clinic and the CWO people, the Catholic women, the Christian women organizations in church are the ones who straightly are attending to the antenatal care and ensuring that these people who are positive, if my person in my church is the one doing this to me, he's not stigmatizing me, I'm not going to take care of it. Now, the most important one is the treatment outcome. I can assure you that we have lost a lot of persons who are dead today from HIV because they had to stop treatments, because they got the information wrong. So the religious leader has a major role, either to do it good or get it bad. If you don't put them in the focus, they might get it wrong.
Okay. You can also call us and ask your questions or contribute. You can also give us your experiences, and the numbers to call is 081-8999-1011. The number again is 081-8999-1011. You can call us, ask questions, and we can also share our experiences together. So taking it from there, how would you assess adherence to the use of antiretroviral drugs? Do we have cases where people say, okay, I am now healed because divine healing, I have divine healing, so I'm not going to use my drugs? How is the adherence to the drugs?
Very interesting issue, though. Just like Dr. Kema just said, in fact, he just preempted what I wanted to say. Yes. The issue of adherence is very important, and religious leaders are very also key in ensuring adherence to treatment. I'll give an instance of what happened not long ago. Because of this issue.
Okay, Kenna, let's talk to one of our listeners before we continue. Hello. Hello. Please, please could you turn down the volume of your radio before you call us?
Hello.
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 Hello. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. And I want to ask, is it possible for someone who is HIV positive?
We didn't get that, please.
I said, is it possible for someone who is HIV to marry someone who is HIV positive?
Okay, your question will be answered. Just keep listening.
Okay. Before we get to the question, let's finish what I was talking about. Yes, not long ago.
Adherence to
treatment.
Yes.
We had a report of a woman that died during the fasting period.
Okay.
Because she stopped her drugs because she didn't want to violate the religious issue of taking something during fasting. Now that is very important. If you need to address this issue. If the faith leaders agree that, look, there are exemptions, you don't have to stop the drugs because you're fasting. That's even one. Another one is the major one, where people, pastors, and other people preach about healing. We don't want to go into the issue of healing or not, but we know that people obey them religiously, and what they say might cost people's lives. In fact, someone was saying that if any pastor or any religious leader tells anybody to stop his drugs and the person dies, the pastor has committed murder. So we need to actually let them know that adherence is important. And yes, it's important for some of them to even say, like I always say, if we have more religious leaders who are positive, many of them are there. If they come out and tell people, look at how good I am positive, I've been taking my drugs, that will be more than whatever investment we're putting in treating people. People need to hear that. So you can be role models. With that, just being, that's a ministry. Role model to those who are positive, who are confused about what to do. Just by coming out to say, look, take your drugs and you're fine. That's good enough, and that's more than all the investment we're putting in the writing communication. So they are key in achieving that result.
Okay, well, okay. Keep the calls coming. 081-8999-1011. Dr. Kema, what can you say is the best practice, especially as it has to do with working with faith leaders? What's the best practice? I know you've talked a lot about this, but what's the best practice?
In terms of what? Best practice?
Yes, in terms of working with faith leaders,
okay,
as far as these issues are concerned.
Well, when you say, I think that getting these religious leaders to know what is right, it's very important. Engaging them.
Okay. Hold the thoughts there. Let's pick this caller. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Taruna.
Okay.
What I have to say in this case is that maybe of health and people that let them go out and create awareness about this thing. You cannot remain in your office and telling people to be taking their drugs. They know they are aware of it. Go out and tell them, create awareness. Let them know. There are some villages today they don't even know about how to use condoms. Go out and create awareness. Tell them about the thing. So I believe it will help Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much for calling. Okay. Thank you.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one. Because it's very important. Because all around the streets of Abuja, what you're going to see is HIV positive man call. I tell you, I run a clinic where I have over 6,000 persons living with HIV just in FCT. And I tell you that if there's any major, you see somebody who stays in the reception and says, "Doctor, I want to see you." Most time they don't have anything to complain about. They just want me to talk to them about how I will connect them with one person. And I told them my job is clinical. My job is not a psychosocial. It's psychosocial actually. But you see, we need to get it right. There are 4 types of relationships when it comes to HIV and AIDS. The first one is a HIV negative man who marries a HIV negative woman. They say HIV negative seroconcordant relationship. The second one is a HIV positive person who marries a HIV positive person. So that's HIV positive seroconcordant. The third one is a HIV positive man who marries or a HIV partner whose other partner is HIV positive, the other person is HIV negative. That's a HIV serodiscordant relationship. But I tell you, the fourth one is funny. Almost everybody, majority of Nigerians are in the 4th category of relationship. It says it's a presumptive HIV negative. So people who have not done their tests are assuming. Of the 4, I'd rather be in a relationship that is HIV serodiscordant relationship. They said, show me, if I know my enemy, I will know how to live. Because now, by 2018, the WHO will be going to what they call a U and U slogan. It says undetectable, untransmittable. 82% in the last data I varied from my facilities of couples who are married are serodiscordant, and I have not seen one person who has achieved viral suppression who has infected the next person.
Okay, so it's
even when they do not, I'm telling you, because it's a study that is still ongoing. That is why we are preparing for the 2018 Grand Slam, which is the U and U, undetectable viral load, untransmittable. I am not saying that it is the safest, but when you know your partner is positive, you know what you could do. I tell you, majority of my clients are living in a serodiscordant relationship, followed for years. They have not. And what are they doing? You need to understand the discussion around treatment as prevention. The best, one of the ABCD of HIV prevention is A is abstinence, B is being faithful, C is use of condom, and D is drugs. So if I'm positive and my wife is negative, my treatment is her prevention. Okay. It's called the treatment as prevention. Now, if the person who is positive is able to achieve viral suppression, the risk of transmitting to the next person reduces up to 96%.
Okay.
So while you're using the treatment goal, you can now use the remaining 4% as a combination prevention. I am saying it is safer for me to know that my partner is positive and I begin to want to use abstinence, prevention, using condom. Or if the question is now is the question he will now ask me, so supposing he wants me to, if I want to deliver, I want to have kids, what do I do? The options available still are what they call focus coitus. You wait for the woman when she's ovulating, and then you go without protection. But I'm saying that even for those who have not even used condom or who have had failed, as long as the patient is on drug, the risk is minimal, significantly reduced.
Okay, so let's talk about antenatal care for pregnant women in faith communities.
Okay, there's a study actually on that an organization did, and that model has actually been a model that we have been looking at, a very beautiful model. Now, they're using religious leaders to, now the religious leader in the church come out to say, all the pregnant women, if you know you're pregnant in this congregation, can you come out for prayers? Trust us, Nigeria. Everybody run out, all the pregnant women, even those that are 1 week old, they run out to go and take prayers.
Yes.
And by the time after the prayers, the pastor says, okay, after this prayer, I want to meet with you after the service ends. And they wait. They call it baby shower in the context of the project. Now they wait and they meet with the religious leader, and the religious leader wants to say, have you gone for ANC? Have you gone to the hospital? Have you registered? And you see some of them say no, they have not, and the pastor say, oh, we need to start from there. So we are saying that if religious leaders take it upon themselves to say you need to go for antenatal, these people will actually go, because it is not just about going for HIV counseling and testing. That's not the only services that needs to be uptake. Yes, that's part of it. We want to look at ANC too, that women start going to hospital to uptake services, to run tests, and not only HIV tests, of course, they run when they go to the hospital.
Yeah,
there's
do all
other tests.
Yes.
So that's why it's so important. Now, in that study, they were able to see that a lot of women in most communities patronize TBAs. Now, listen, we're not saying that TBAs are wrong.
When you say TBAs, what
traditional
do you mean?
birth attendants.
Okay.
We're not saying that going to patronize them are wrong, but we are saying that it is important to go to the hospital for you to be able to run a lot of tests, which is, of course, the HIV testing, so that when, for instance, you're diagnosed positive, they enroll you into what we call PMTCT. That's prevention of mother-to-child transmission. They enroll you into it, so your baby is safe, you are safe. That, like the first caller was asking, and Dr. Ono has actually answered that, but in a simple way to say that it is very, very possible for a non-positive person to marry a positive person, and they will have issues. They will have their children, and their children are negative,
and the other person will remain
negative, and the other one positive. Yeah, still. So we are saying that we want religious leaders to take this upon themselves, use their role in the congregation, both in the mosque, in the church, to mobilize people to go for uptake of services. And also to quickly respond to the second caller, talking about creating awareness. And that's our what we in Ninerela we are doing. We go to faith congregations, we go to the mosque, we go to the church to create awareness around global health issues. And we've been doing all this in a couple of years now, and we've been seeing a lot of results, but we still think we need to do more. Of course, we had limited funds to be doing all this, but we're trying our best to go to faith congregations, because we know everybody in the community belongs to one faith congregation or not. And another thing we do is we train religious leaders too on the right informations, because the truth is a lot of religious leaders don't have these informations. They have the informations, but they don't have the right informations. So part of what we do is we train religious leaders too on HIV, stigma reduction, how you could use your faith congregation to as well come up with positive response.
Okay, Dr. Kama, let me ask you this question. Your organization is AIDS Healthcare Foundation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does your organization have any intention of engaging faith leaders?
Engaging who?
Faith leaders.
Faith leaders. Yeah. Something is striking us in the issue of advocacy. First of all, is the fact that a lot of our young couples who are positive, who are now living in one positive, second person is negative. And when they go to church, you see the religious leader says, before you marry, you must give me your HIV results. And they're not only getting the results, they want, the most time they don't even show you the patient. They tell you to come to their own clinic to do the test. They don't even release the results to the people. They take it to the head pastor. Yeah. And there are laws. The anti-stigma law 2014 is very clear about that. While you are trying to create demand, you should not infringe on the right. The way the religious leaders ask for this test, you assume that they want to start you on antiretroviral drug in the church, whatever. But we think that those things are wrong. You see a lot of clients when they want to get married, they are all scared. Ah, God, especially when it is a senior person in the church and they know you are positive, and then the pastor now has to automatically know. The people, even as a doctor, for me to know your HIV status is on the need to know basis. I will not tell my colleague who is a doctor that you are HIV positive if he does not need to know based on the care. So the anti-discriminatory law is very clear on that. You are only expected to tell your partner. The issue of partner now is the issue where the legal people will come. Is my partner my spouse, or the person I want to have a fling with? These are issues around it, but the law does not compel you to tell anybody. And HIV testing is never compulsory in any setting, except I have raped someone. If I have raped someone, I have infringed on the person's rights, then they want to know my status so that to commence the person on post-exposure prophylaxis or not. You understand? But HIV testing is not. So we felt that if the religious leaders are making such mistakes, we need to engage them. We need to call them to a round table through community dialogue and tell them that the best practices, as you were saying to say, it's good, you can create demand, but don't make this compulsory. Before you get married, you must do this.
Okay. Let's in a brief now, because you don't have time. What are the services that are available for people living with HIV in faith congregations? Even as you also tell us your contacts, how do we reach you, your phone numbers, your addresses, that people, our callers listeners can reach you?
Okay, I think we'll look at the opportunities available in faith communities. In fact, the faith communities are, you have everything. They have everything. I was telling one pastor, he was saying that they don't have funding to do that. I said, do you need funding? When you are in your church, you have people who are doctors, nurses, all of them are there. And if you tell them, look, doctor, just don't pay me that tithe. Provide free medical services for parishioners once every month. After discussing with him, he said that was wonderful. So they have to look inwards. There are a lot of things they can do. In fact, some of them run programs for pregnant women. Okay. So we need to leverage on those opportunities. Create health committees in the faith communities so that people like AHF can now say, okay, fine, that existing structure in the church we can leverage on to implement services. So they have to look at the available resources there in terms of either human resources or even material resources, in fact, even funding. In Benue, we were discussing with some Muslims. They say, in fact, sometimes the mosque used to announce for people to support some people who are living with HIV who need money to go and access their drugs, and people are donating. So, but the issue is the first start. Make it a part of your religious activities so that people can say, okay, fine, we cannot contribute in this. So, yes, they have a lot of resources and opportunities in the faith community they can leverage on.
Okay, so how can we contact you?
Okay, Ninerella, you can contact us. Our website is www.ninerella.org.ng. Ninerella is spelled NINERELA.org.ng. Then if you want to send us an email, it's just ninerella@yahoo.com. Ninerella is NINERELA. For those who are screaming, you can see it online. Then our phone number, you can also reach us on phone 081 4082 3429. If you have any questions you want to ask, we are always there to give you feedback. The phone number again is 081 4082 3429. That's our phone number. We're always glad. I just wanted to quickly trip in something. Like I think in the first program I was sharing with us the first Africa priest that came out as HIV positive. That's the person of Reverend Colonel Gideon. He was the first African priest that came out to say, I am HIV positive. And today he's being celebrated around the world. He's a lot of religious leader in that conference where he went to. It was a Anglican conference they went for when he came out to say, this is my status. He never knew that there were a lot of religious leaders who were living with HIV but dying in silence. But immediately he came out to say, this is what my status is. A lot of them came out to say, oh wow, we've been dying in the silence since. And part of our message to religious leaders as we end is we're saying that we don't need to be judgmental. We don't need to stigmatize, because we've seen that stigmatization and discrimination is mainly happening in faith communities, in the church, in the mosque. We've seen when people who are positive, they sit down and people run away from it. I've had a friend who said, I saw you working with that person. I heard that person is HIV positive. And why are you still moving with that person? And I said, so what? I eat with the person. I can sit and dine with the person. It can't transfer the HIV to me. Yeah. So it's all for us to show love to people who are living with HIV and AIDS. Then religious leaders should use their pulpit to fight against stigma and discrimination.
Okay, Dr. Kema, your final comments, just 2 seconds. Final comment, 2 seconds. What would you tell the people?
I think that the religious leaders should please help. They have a major role to play in terms of stigma reduction. They also have a major role to help people increase uptake. So please give the right information out to your followers and they will listen to you. Don't make HIV testing compulsory, but you can actually help them to increase uptake in HIV testing.
Okay, Nkena, 2 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Just to say, just remind all of us that we cannot be well until we are all well. So we cannot claim to be fine, except those amongst us who are dying in silence are also fine. So it's our responsibilities in our faith communities, in our societies, to help each other.
Okay, on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming, Amber,
thank you.
Dr. Onu, and Nkena. And I look forward to seeing you guys again on Thursday.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And that is Healed My Heart, a segment of Health is Life, and is brought to you by the Nigerian Network of Religious Leaders Living with and Affected by HIV, and is supported by Gilead Foundation and Christian Aid, respectively. Thank you very much. My name is Oikeke Igado Kure, and I thank you for tuning in.